the vacant IBF bantamweight crown.
Well, of course, Berrio's been there before, Larry. He fought back in November 20th, 93 against Canizales, lost a tough 12-round decision. He had to venture all the way to South Africa to do it. Mestre is coming in here today, hits his first title shot, and it's actually the first time, you know, he's never been more than 10 rounds, and he only did that one time. So we're going to be looking for a stamina situation where he's concerned. Both fighters came in on the money at the weight. Berrio had a problem making the weight when he fought Canizales, came in heavy for that fight. Not an easy weight for him to make.
That fight coming up in just a moment, but first our co-feature, junior featherweight, 10 rounds.
A esta maravillosa tarde de boxeo internacional desde la ciudad de
Hurtado, who
con el
is
patrocinio
ranked by the IBF and WBC number 7 and 6 respectively, and he is unbeaten.
que cree en el boxeo colombiano y les presenta a ustedes
Julio
este
Barbosa
acontecimiento, esta pelea
from
de
Colombia
título
himself, 23
mundial,
and 3, 8 knockouts
boxeadores
in our
al centro del
co-feature.
ring.
Great to have you with us. Championship boxing from Cartagena, Colombia. Coliseum Bernardo Caraballo. And Arnie, very hot in Colombia. Fighters are going to have to be in tremendous condition outside over 90 degrees.
Over 90 outside, of course, a lot of anxiety in Colombia in general over the recent earthquakes. We understand there's no air conditioning in this arena. And as the referee's finishing up his instructions, I guess we're getting ready here for round number 1.
Here we are, Hurtado and Barbosa. Cartagena, Colombia. Great to have you with us. Championship boxing on the Cedric Kushner Sports Network. Hurtado in the black trunks, Barbosa in the white trunks. Barbosa 23-3 with 8 knockouts. You see Hurtado from Cartagena, Colombia, 20-0-115 knockouts, stand-up straight, and Barbosa wants to rough him up early.
Well, Barbosa's more of the boxer. Knockouts in his 23 wins. Hurtado, known as the heavy hitter here, 15 knockouts in his 20 wins. Got a slight height advantage as well over Barbosa.
Round 1, junior featherweight, 10-round bout. Hurtado and Barbosa. Barbosa, a late replacement for Manuel Vilches. When you're a boxer, Arnie, you find that you find in the last minute you're going to be fighting a guy you don't know much about. That might throw you off your game.
Had a similar situation the other night. Bronco Ricard from Detroit had a last-second replacement. They brought in a 6'2.5" 154-pounder. Gave Bronco fits, and what he thought was going to be a very easy night, he wound up with a couple of welts on his eyes and finally stopped his fighter in the 8th round. And it will be a very similar situation here today. You don't like those last-second replacements.
Midway through round 1, once again Hurtado in the black trunks, and Julio Barbosa in the white. Barbosa, an awkward fighter, diving in head first. Reynaldo Hurtado appears very calm and really sticking to his game plan, obviously trying to get that jab working.
And Hurtado has the better sponsor too, Postoban, very popular coffee in Colombia.
Hurtado has won his last 6 all by knockout. Last time he fought was back in 1994, November the 18th. First round knockout over Pedro Padilla.
It's real interesting today, Larry. You know, a lot of our audience in the United States, and to that matter also over in Europe, don't get to see the Colombian fighters. Fighters like Hurtado, never been out of the country before, starting to get some U.S. exposure here on the Cedric Kushner Network, which I think is real good.
Our main event will feature 2 Colombians, Harold Mestre and Juvenal Berrio. Here it is Reynaldo Hurtado, and he's hurting the opponent Barbosa with 30 seconds to go in round 1. Look at the look of determination on Hurtado's face. And already Barbosa sucking a little wind early on it. Surprising in the first round.
Well, this is what happens sometimes. Sometimes you get a fighter who takes it on for a second. He may not be in the best shape.
He is hurt. Barbosa is hurt and hanging on as round 1 comes to a close. Hurtado, both hands flying away with 3 seconds, 2 seconds, the end of round 1. So the end of round 1, and I believe I would have to give round 1 to Hurtado big, as he is facing Julio Barbosa. Barbosa from Ecuador, Venezuela. Check that, he is from Venezuela. And Hurtado is a hometown guy from Cartagena, Colombia. Instructions in the corner of Hurtado.
And unofficially, Larry, I gave the round to Hurtado also. I think if we went another 15 or 20 seconds, he might have stopped Barbosa. The referee was taking a very close look at them. And it was, you know, Hurtado is the heavier puncher, and Barbosa doesn't want to lay on the ropes with him. He's only shot in a fight like this because he's not a heavy puncher with only 8 knockouts in his 23 wins. He's got to move, he's got to stick and jab. Doesn't want to get trapped on the ropes like that.
Round 1 in the corner of Hurtado. This is Barbosa. Trying to stay cool. It is hot inside the Coliseum Bernardo Caraballo. There you go, the bell for round 2. Larry Michael with Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal. Coming up a little bit later will be the IBF Bantamweight Championship, World Championship. And Barbosa in a lot of trouble. I don't know if he'll last.
And he set it up with a right to the body. Hurtado did a terrific right hand uppercut, landing right in the rib cage of Barbosa. And he's got him holding on. And I don't think this last second, taking the fight on last second notice has been good for Barbosa at all, Larry. As we were talking about, sometimes it works for and sometimes it works against. And today, definitely against Barbosa.
Referee just warned Barbosa for holding. Hurtado trying to set up the knockout blow. He has won 6 straight by knockout, trying to make it 7. Reynaldo Hurtado ranked number 6 by the WBC, 7th by the IBF.
Keep in mind, it's a schedule of 10. He's only been 8 rounds one time, and that was back in 1992. So, be interesting to see a fighter like Hurtado take it into the later rounds, but I don't think that's going to be the case today.
Barbosa tired in round 1, so I don't know how much fuel is in his tank tonight. Of course, the heat inside the arena, the Coliseum Bernardo Caraballo, stifling.
And Barbosa, oddly enough, is normally a distance fighter, not known for KOs. Comes in 23-3.
And Hurtado likes to keep his distance, Arnie. He doesn't want to get close. He needs some punching room, and there you see, just missing with the right hand.
Well, he has a 2.5-inch reach advantage over Barbosa. He's showing a lot of poise, though, in spite of the fact that he's got Barbosa hurt now in the second.
Oh, a little slip or a punch. A push more than anything by Barbosa. Hurtado got his feet tangled, fell back into the ropes. And turnaround is fair play. Barbosa stumbles. Hurtado takes advantage. Hurtado not looking as sharp as he did in round 1, getting Barbosa hurt early in round 2, but Barbosa has weathered the storm and is actually hanging on.
Well, as I was saying, Hurtado showing some poise. He's, in some ways, he's letting Barbosa get back into the fight. But at the same time, he's not, you know, he doesn't know. Maybe this will go into the 10th round.
Yeah.
And he's saving himself a little bit, as you said, very hot in the arena.
Barbosa just really throwing everything at Hurtado right now. Head down, Barbosa in a lot of trouble right now. Hurtado measuring, and Barbosa doing the smart thing. He's going to try to survive round 2. Reynaldo Hurtado has never fought outside of Colombia. Unbeaten, 20-0-1. That draw came on August the 31st of 1992. And the end of round 2, 125-pound limit. Junior featherweights, a 10-round bout. Arnie, from the Cartagena, Colombia Coliseum, Bernardo Caraballo, named after a famous Colombian fighter. Get to that in a minute. Hurtado putting the hurt on Barbosa.
Here's where we saw that slip earlier in the round, and you saw Barbosa doing a charge in here at the same time. He wants to stay in close, try to cut down the punching distance for Reynaldo Hurtado, who has a reach advantage of 2.5 inches over Barbosa.
Coliseum named after a famous Colombian fighter, Bernardo Caraballo, first Colombian to ever fight for the title back in 1962, back in your heyday. And he didn't win that fight, but he became a national hero.
Did I have it? That was around the time my mother was introducing a law in the Senate to prevent me from boxing. Well,
thank goodness that passed. Round 3 from Cartagena, Colombia. And And you gave Hurtado round 2 as well, I would think.
Unofficially, I've got him up 2-zip at this point.
Round 3 scheduled for 10. Junior featherweights, a reminder, coming up a little bit later, the IBF Bantamweight Championship of the World. Juvenal Barrio, 24-4-1, the #1 ranked contender by the IBF against Harold Mestre, who is the #2 ranked IBF contender, fighting for the title vacated by Orlando Canizales.
Well, Larry, you mentioned the fact that Hurtado
got stung by a left hand there by Barbosa.
Getting a little lazy. Richard Hurtado's never been out of Colombia. Well, our challenger today, one of our challengers for the title, Harold Mestre's never been out of Colombia either.
A bit of boxing in the Caribbean. Beautiful town, Cartagena, Colombia. Barbosa, some newfound confidence. Maybe he senses that Hurtado is a little bit on cruise control. Hurtado takes the right hand to the side of the head from Barbosa.
Hurtado's letting Barbosa get back into this fight. He's allowing him to take command right now, come rushing in. He's throwing those overhand rights, work the body. And for some reason, Hurtado's cut down on his own offense.
Hurtado slowing down just a bit. Barbosa, great opportunity for Barbosa to knock Hurtado from the ranks of the unbeaten. Barbosa coming in with a record of 23-3.
I'd love to see him take Hurtado into the late rounds just to see what would happen. I mean, we're taking a look, those 6 straight KOs, 1-5, 2-2, 4, and 1 rounds respectively. I'd love to see him get into round 7 or 8 and just see what he's got.
Last time he went 8 rounds, did Hurtado, was back in December of 1992. And Barbosa doing some good body work there against the favorite Hurtado.
Well, again, taking the fight on short notice, I'm sure that Barbosa didn't have a chance to study a lot of tapes on Hurtado, or vice versa. He may have known nothing about it when the bell rang. He's from Venezuela, Hurtado's from Colombia, and it may take him a couple of rounds to figure out, gee, I'm not going to stay on the outside against this guy. I got to rush on the inside, work the body, cut down that reach and height advantage.
Arnie, can you sense now by looking at Hurtado that just a little bit less snap in the jab, maybe slowing down just a bit?
Well, I think a lot of that is the factor of Barbosa going to the body, where he's not as anxious to keep that jab hanging out there, and at the same time, that overhand wild, what looks like an overhand wild right, is landing on the face of Hurtado, and even has raised a little bit of a lump underneath his left eye.
There's that overhand right again, that time on the side of Hurtado's face. Approaching the end of round 3. Barbosa turning the tide a little bit, round 3. And through 3 rounds, Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal, how do you have this one scored?
I gave that last round to Barbosa. I thought he was coming on nice and started to land with some consistency and work the body. And I've got it 2 rounds to 1 right now, 29-28 in favor of Reynaldo Hurtado.
See the corner of Hurtado pleading to their undefeated fighter. Got to put this guy out. And the Venezuelan, Julio Barbosa, sometimes when you gain confidence, you also gain some strength. And a little bit of that fatigue is put in the back of your mind instead of the front of your mind.
Well, I'm sure his corner's telling him, gee, you know, it's hot for you, it's hot for the other guy just as well. He's just as tired as you, maybe he's more tired.
Temperatures in the 90s in Colombia.
Hurtado threw a lot of punches in those first 2 rounds. And we'll see if round 3 was just a vacation or a permanent vacation.
Action today brought to you by Corona Extra, La Cerveza Más Fina. Round 4, and these are the junior featherweights, 125-pound limit. Reynaldo Hurtado, the unbeaten 6th and 7th ranked in the WBC and IBF in the black trunks against Julio Barbosa, late substitute out of Venezuela. Barbosa took round 3 on Arnie's scorecard. He's battling back.
So Hurtado's got to get that jab moving, and one jab isn't going to do it. He's got to double up on that jab and move in on the second jab himself, Larry. If he's going to throw one lazy jab out there, Barbosa's going to continue to slip and come underneath.
Hurtado finding the range from the outside, crunching right hand off the chin of Barbosa. Barbosa tough, standing there, but how much can he take?
He's got to move inside. He doesn't want to lay on the ropes. Hurtado, a much heavier puncher. He's got 15 knockouts in his 20 fights.
Hurtado really turning on the heat. Barbosa looking to hang on. Hurtado won't let him. Another right by Hurtado. Long way to go, though, in round 4. Barbosa can hang in. He might be able to turn the tide this round because Hurtado showed signs of fatigue earlier.
Hurtado throwing a lot of punches right now, though, non-stop. If he would just sit down on him, he could probably put Barbosa away.
Big bear hug by Barbosa, trying to slow Hurtado's attack down.
Hurtado showing something a lot of young fighters show. They throw a lot of punches non-stop, tend to weary themselves out, so to speak. And if he would just sit down, maybe double up on that jab and then move in.
Oh, good uppercut there. Clips the chin of Barbosa, who has to fumble for his mouthpiece.
And he's got a lot of time left in this round, Larry.
Long way to go in round 4. Barbosa has taken a pounding here in the first 2 minutes of round 4. Reynaldo Hurtado probably saw that his opponent turned the tide a little in round 3. Came out with renewed purpose. Good short left hand by Hurtado. Barbosa in some deep trouble now. Hurtado just needs room to punch. Barbosa doing the right thing right now, trying to smother Hurtado. Another right by Hurtado. Barbosa just trying to survive. He's taken a lot of punishment here in round 4. Counters back, a good right by Hurtado again. Right, a little bit of a swelling on the left eye of Hurtado.
And the right eye as well now. And a good right uppercut just landed in there.
How is it that Hurtado is swelling as he pounds away at the head of Barbosa?
Well, I think in close, but you don't get a chance to really, it's hard for judges to score this, Larry. Is in close, Barbosa's scoring in there, and he's slipping a lot of punches. And it's just also the nature of, I think maybe he thinks the fight's over.
Yeah, it appeared as though Barbosa hugged Hurtado, signifying the end of the fight, but long way to go. This one is scheduled for 10.
A lot of it has to do with the nature of just how somebody's face puffs up or doesn't puff up. Some fighters look like they can take a beating for lots of
Julio
rounds, and
Barbosa
nothing
de
there at the end of the
Venezuela.
fight. We take a look at the Murky Sosa Charlie Williams fight took place last weekend. Sosa's eye shut tight. People are wondering from what punches.
Good body shot inside, so Hurtado scoring inside and outside.
If he would sit down on some of those punches instead of being up, just shorten up on the punches a little bit, he could have had Barbosa out of there by now.
Getting set for round 5.
Julio Barbosa de Venezuela.
Once again, the action brought to you by Corona Extra, La Cerveza Más Fina. Round 5. Junior featherweights, and Hurtado, I would think on your card once again, he really did some damage in round 4.
Had a great round 4. If I was his corner, I would say just sit down, try to shorten up those punches.
Hurtado retreating a little bit here as Barbosa moves forward, and maybe a ploy on Hurtado's part to try to draw Barbosa in close. He scored well moving as the aggressor in round 4, however. It doesn't make a lot of sense to change your strategy when you really get a good thing going.
He threw a lot of punches, though, in round number 4. And as we saw him in round number 3, and we're guessing, gee, was he fatigued and just taking a round off? It was obvious he took the 3rd round off, came out replenished in round 4, but it's very hot in this gymnasium. And, right now, round number 5, at least for the first 60 seconds or so, he's taking a bit of a breather.
Barbosa charging in, and he eats a right hand from Hurtado as Hurtado backed up.
And remember, as we were saying before, he's only been 8 rounds one time. The last time he was in deep in the 5th round was back in October of '93. And here we are almost midway through round number 5. And with the kind of heat that's going on today, it could be a very tough fight for him if he gets into rounds 8, 9, and 10.
Hurtado began this round. Moving back, moving forward now. Barbosa, the overhand looping right, scores off the top of Hurtado's head. Once again, Hurtado retreating a little bit, mouth open. very, very hot. In the ring right now, it has to be 100 degrees. It's 90 degrees outside. No air conditioning in the building. And they clinch. And we might see some clinching towards the end of this fight. Scheduled for 10. Hurtqdo's never been past 8.
Good overhand right.
And Barbosa pushes and punches Hurtqdo down. And is that not called a knockdown?
Not a knockdown, but let me tell you, his ability to push down Hurtqdo was based on the fact that he landed a very good overhand right flush on the side of Hurtqdo's face.
Barbosa,
best punch of the fight so far for Barbosa.
No question. He feels he has Hurtqdo in a little bit of trouble, and Hurtqdo is in fact holding on.
Larry, take a look at when Hurtqdo throws that left hand. He does not bring it up high. Tends to keep it down. Very reminiscent of like a Kronk type of fighter.
Right.
He'll keep that left hand down, sometimes near his knee. Doesn't bring it back upstairs. He's very open for that right hand lead of Julio Barbosa. There it is again.
Round 5 winding down. Tough round to call. Hurtqdo didn't do a lot early. Got shook by Barbosa. But there's no doubt about it. Hurtqdo, the more classy boxer of these two. And the end of round 5. Larry Michael, along with Arnie Rosenthal, the site, the Coliseum Bernardo Caraballo, Cartagena, Colombia.
Entre los boxeadores
Take a
Reynaldo
look at
Hurtado de
fifth round action
Colombia.
here, Larry, and there's that overhand right. You see how
Julio
low.
Barbosa de
I don't know. I would have
Venezuela.
called that a knockdown because it was a little bit of a delayed reaction. Watch this angle here. If the referee is not in the way. Good looping right by Barbosa. Boom.
Well, he tripped over. Did you check out the right foot of Julio Barbosa?
But he did score with the punch, and you said it, and I'd have to agree. The biggest punch of the fight for Barbosa.
And one thing's for sure, if Hurtado wasn't hurt, you wouldn't have been able to push him over that easy anyway.
Right.
Still a very tough round to call because you've got to score it based on all 3 minutes. I still squeaked it through for Reynaldo Hurtado and have him up 49-46 as we're halfway through this fight. But he's got to be very concerned, and now he's going into some area that he hasn't been in quite a while, and that's the 6th round of the scheduled 10.
Just to review, Reynaldo Hurtado 4-0 in the year 1994, and he fought a total of 9 rounds total in 1994. 2 second-round knockouts, a 4th-round TKO, and a 1st-round knockout. That's what he's done since April of 94. And Hurtado is ahead on all scorecards, I'd have to believe, in ringside. Round 6 underway. We'll have to look back to December of 1992 when he last won by decision, an 8-round decision over Emiliano Ferrar. Once again, that fight was in Colombia as well.
That, of course, is the most he's ever been.
Yeah, it's hot. So Barbosa, if he has any kind of strategy, I would think, is to stretch this thing as far as possible, take it into the 10th round or take it into the later rounds. And Hurtado might have given his best shot already in this fight. We'll have to wait and see. Right hand there by Hurtado. And Julio Barbosa has to hold on.
He's got a feel in general. Barbosa can't hurt him. Barbosa not considered much of a puncher. Only 8 knockouts in his 23 wins. However, that overhand right keeps landing.
And it is unorthodox. Puts his head down and just throws it. He's found a home for it, though. Hurtado trying to come inside with the right uppercut. Doesn't score. Right in the center of the ring. Junior featherweights, 125-pound limit. Hurtado came in at 124 pounds.
Hurtado starting to hold on now, Larry. A lot of punches.
And most of them, a lot of them have connected. And what keeps Barbosa up? He's in tremendous condition. Very unorthodox jab there. Barbosa threw his whole body in Hurtado.
Really the only strategy that he has. And you know, he's using it well this round. Very similar to the way he did it in round number 3. And as long as Hurtado keeps that left hand down.
Good right hand by Hurtado. Also walked right into that. Hurtado in the black trunks. Julio Barbosa in the white trunks. Fight scheduled for 10 rounds. Junior featherweight division. Barbosa really looks tired right about now. He's done his best. The overhand right has scored, but he really cannot hurt Hurtqdo. Hurtqdo is hurting Barbosa. Good right hand.
That right hand really has Barbosa hurt.
Referee thinking about stepping in. The clock winds down, 10 seconds to go in round 6. Can Barbosa hold on? No standing 8 count in Colombian rules. 10-point must system. Only the referee can stop the fight, and there is a 3 knockdown rule in effect, Colombian rules, as Barbosa spits his mouthpiece out on the canvas as he sits down between rounds.
We're going to take a look at this replay here, Larry. 6-round action. There's that good right hand that really hurt Barbosa. Barbosa was having a good round, especially for the first half. He was very tired the second half of the round. Got caught with that very good right hand by Hurtqdo.
Like that would feel real good. Someone slapping a towel in your face right about now, Arnie. As hot as it is in Colombia.
Well, I got to tell you right now, I think Barbosa would like to be having that done in the dressing room or maybe in his car on the way back home. The way he spit that mouthpiece out, I didn't think he wanted to be here in round number 7, and I don't think Hurtqdo expected him to be here, though, in round number 7.
Little abrasion under the right eyebrow of Julio Barbosa. And you know, the swelling we noticed on Hurtqdo's face under his left eye earlier in the fight really has not gotten any worse. It might have been an old swelling. Suffered in practice, who knows? But right now, round 7 underway, and how do you have it scored?
Well, right now, 59-55. Reynaldo Hurtqdo only gave the 3rd round to our friend Julio Barbosa, last second replacement today, looking very tired.
Did a good job making this a fight, though, as he buys another right from Hurtqdo. Hurtqdo would love to keep this knockout streak going. He's knocked his last 6 opponents out.
And perhaps what's kept Barbosa here to a certain extent is that Hurtqdo seems to be hitting him a little bit right now. He doesn't, to be a little critical of him, he doesn't seem to have much of a jab, Larry. And when he does throw it, he throws a single jab, very lazy, and tends to drop it, which is why Barbosa's been able to land that right over the top. Nobody seems to have thought of right now to double up on that jab and then come in there with the right and sit down on his punch.
So if Barbosa had a little bit more offensive firepower, he could exploit Hurtqdo right now. He just doesn't have the ability.
Exactly.
Hurtqdo really pursuing right now. Barbosa doing nothing but running. Against the ropes, Barbosa taking a lot of heat. Tries to spin away. You see now Barbosa's legs beginning to go. Hurtqdo looking sharp, coming forward, stalking his opponent.
The positive side, though, for Hurtqdo, he goes to the body very well. Good hooks, good uppercuts.
Barbosa in a survival state right now. Right hand misses by Hurtqdo. Barbosa continues to dance away. I say dance, it's more like a slow stumble right now.
I think it's more like a fast retreat.
Larry Michael with Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal. Great to have you with us on the Cedric Kushner Sports Network. A reminder, coming up, the IBF Bantamweight Championship of the World is a vacant title right now. Between rounds, we're going to take get some analysis from you, Arnie, on the main event, which is coming right up after this junior featherweight 10-rounder. Hurtqdo again, a good body shot. Barbosa thought that might have been a little south of the border. And Barbosa continues to hold on. 30 seconds to go in round 7.
I would have to say right now, Larry, that Barbosa is in classic survival mode. He'd like to go to distance. You're not getting much offense out of him whatsoever. And because of the volume of punches that Hurtqdo has thrown, I'm not sure that he could put Barbosa away at this point this late in the fight.
Even a lucky punch wouldn't be enough, I think, for Barbosa. I just don't know if he's got the heat to be able to do that. So we approach the end of round 7. And we're so excited to have you with us, folks. We've got a great fight coming up next, the IBF Bantamweight Championship. That was left vacant when Orlando Canizales moved up in weight to take on the champion of the IBF, Wilfredo Vasquez, and Vasquez won that a few weeks ago. What do you think of the big fight coming up next? Juvenal Barrio against Harold Mestre.
Well, what's really interesting, we're going from having probably one of the highest profile bantamweights of the decade in Orlando Canizales to two fighters that are relatively unknown both to us and to the American public. Juvenal Barrio has been there before, though. He fought a very valiant effort against Canizales, losing a close 12-round decision. Almost lost. He would have only lost by 1 point had he not had 2 points taken away from him during the fight. He does have trouble making this weight.
Calidad que mueve a Colombia.
Harold Mestre coming in, never been out of Colombia, fighting today in Colombia, obviously against another Colombian, undefeated, 20-2. Much stronger punching power, though, than Barrio. Knockout artist. And I think what we're going to see is a war very early.
That is coming up next. The IBF Bantamweight Championship. Harold Mestre, the #2 ranked contender, against Juvenal Barrio, the #1 contender. Right now, the junior featherweights move on to round 8. Reynaldo Hurtqdo, unbeaten, 20-0-1 with 16 knockouts, taking on Julio Barbosa, 23-3 with 8 knockouts. Barbosa in the white trunks, Hurtqdo in the black trunks. What a great learning process this has to be for Reynaldo Hurtqdo, who, you know, when you're unbeaten, you've never been out of Colombia, never been past 8 rounds. If he goes 10, that's a great day's work.
I think going 10 and a fighter of Barbosa's stature, who's giving him a lot of different looks today, he's lunging in there. I think when he watches this tape back, he's going to sit there and say, man, I dropped my left hand like nobody's business. And work on correcting that at the same time. Applaud himself if it goes to 10. For being able to go to distance. He's showing good pacing. He's thrown a lot of punches, but he's been smart enough to take off parts of certain rounds. He took off the entire third, in my opinion, which is the only round I've given to Barbosa so far in the fight. And he shows some good promise. I just think if there's one major deficiency right now in him, is he's got a very lazy jab.
Hurtqdo, 27 years old, from Cartagena, Colombia. Barbosa has given him a pretty tough opponent, though the actual boxing ability of Barbosa is not quite at the same level as Hurtqdo, but Barbosa certainly has the heart, and he's got that overhand right that's kept Hurtqdo at least just a bit honest over the course of this fight. 1 minute to go in round 8. Hurtqdo appears to be content to just box from the outside and not pressure the action right now.
Well, he's getting tied up in there. I think he's looking for that one big punch from the outside. His best fighting hasn't been on the inside unless Barbosa has been content to lay on the ropes. When Barbosa's gone to the ropes, then Hurtqdo's done beautiful body work upstairs. Other than that, when they're in the center of the ring like this, he needs to stay on the outside. But throwing one jab at a time isn't going to do it for him. He's got to double on that jab. He's got to move in on the second one and then come with that right hand. He's throwing one jab, giving Barbosa time to move afterwards.
I guess, you know, we have not seen much of these fighters over the years, but the other side of the coin could be possibly a disappointing outing by Hurtqdo, expecting to knock Barbosa out early, not being able to do it, and maybe feeling that he missed an opportunity. Still 2 rounds to go here in this fight. It seems that both fighters content to let it go the distance. You never know, but Hurtqdo's sticking Barbosa there. I guess that's another way you can look at it. If you're a trainer, maybe you say, wait a minute, you should have knocked this guy early in the second round.
Well, you know, there's a little bit too much put on knockouts these days. A lot, you know, you've got a fighter who's coming in with a very high knockout percentage. You'd like him to keep his streak going on one hand. On the other hand, getting that 10-round mentality into him where he's that stigma of, gee, can I go 10 out of the way, is also a very big plus. He's going to want to fight for a world title someday, and he's going to come in against a champion that's been 10, has been 12, and he wants to know that he can do that. And I think he's finding that part out today. On the other hand, the old cliche, styles make fights.
Right.
Barbosa is awkward for him. He's a very experienced fighter. He's made his living as a boxer, not a puncher. And he's giving Reynaldo Hurtqdo not a boxing lesson, but he's giving him a lot of experience.
Round 9. In Cartagena, Colombia. Larry Michael with Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal. Junior featherweights just around the corner. The IBF Bantamweight Championship of the world. And really, Barbosa bleeding from the mouth, the nose, and above the right eye, swelling around both eyes of Barbosa.
And he's been in the survival mode, as we mentioned earlier, since back in the 6th round. And again, because of the volume of punches that Hurtado has thrown, there's a very good chance. This is, by the way, we have to bring up uncharted territory for Hurtado. He's never been past 8.
That's exactly right. And it's very tough to knock out a guy that's just trying to survive. It's hard to knock out a guy who doesn't want to fight. Can't say that truthfully about Barbosa. He has wanted to fight, but I think the fatigue and the punishment he took early has taken the fight out of Barbosa.
And again, in case anybody's just joining us, he's a last-second replacement, so we don't know exactly what shape he's in.
Looked to be in pretty good shape. Had to make the 125-pound limit for this fight, but Hurtado's sneaky right hand. And it just shows you how the reflexes of Barbosa have slowed over the course of this fight. Hurtado figures, well, now I got through 9. Maybe I'll knock him out now. Barbosa against Hurtado. Hurtado in the black trunks, Barbosa in the white. Hurtado unbeaten, 20-0-1. Sneaking up the rankings. WBC is number 6 and the IBF number 7. And Barbosa now just running away.
And Hurtado getting a lesson here on how to cut off a ring. Or possibly a lesson on how not to be able to cut it off.
Well, he's beginning to follow the dancing Barbosa. That's, of course, what you don't want to do. Barbosa just content to stay away, live to fight another day. 1 minute to go in round 9. It's funny, in our main event, both fighters from Colombia. One is from Cartagena, and Barrio is from Sincelejo, Colombia. You have to wonder who the crowd will favor. Here, where you have a Venezuelan and Colombian, very little crowd reaction backing the Colombian.
And as you mentioned, as recently as 1962, no Colombian had ever even fought for a world title. And yet today, with the vacant IBF Bantamweight title, we have 2 Colombians fighting each other.
Warning from the referee to Barbosa to fight. And, you know, it's tough to fight when a guy doesn't want to fight. Let's be honest, folks. Barbosa now beginning to come forward just a bit. I really don't blame him, though, because he's taking a beating.
Well, he's dancing, but Hurtado isn't exactly, he's following him around the ring. I wouldn't say he's running after him. He's not charging in.
Good right hand.
Very good right lead.
Follows with a left and another right. Barbosa begins to hold. The end of round 9. So Barbosa survives another round. Hurtado will go the distance, 10 rounds for the first time in his career if he can't knock Barbosa out. And it's almost a shutout, isn't it?
I've got it 89-82. Reynaldo Hurtado giving only the 3rd round to Julio Barbosa. You know, Larry, I would venture to guess that if we were able to ask Hurtado if he was a converted southpaw, that the answer might be yes. I'm watching the way he throws his jab, which we haven't been impressed with, and the fact that he throws a lot of right-hand leads, which is an odd punch to throw a lot of against another right-hander. And fighters that I've seen that are converted southpaws have a tendency to do that.
There's Barbosa. He's taking a whipping. He's still there, though, for round 10. Junior featherweight bout. 10th and final round. Very warm in Cartagena, Colombia. The television lights has to be about 100 degrees on the canvas. And fighters touch gloves. And Hurtado shakes out his arms. And that is a clear sign that he's fatigued.
It might have even hurt his hand earlier in the fight.
Get some comment there to Barbosa after they touched gloves. And Hurtado continues to pursue. Barbosa continues to move away. Reynaldo Hurtado, as we mentioned, ranked 6th by the WBC, 7th by the IBF. How far away before he gets a title opportunity?
Well, first he's got to make up his mind that he wants to leave Colombia.
Right.
And then secondly, he's got to be able to get that visa. But all kidding aside, I don't think he's ready. And a performance like this today might actually speed up the process, Larry. Sometimes, the managers, respective promoters of the various junior featherweight champions take a look at this and they say, okay, he went 10, but he didn't look good with Barbosa. He's working Barbosa's body very well.
It really is right
this
now.
round.
Especially with the right hand, I think he might have a rib problem there. Barbosa clinging to his side. And of course, that leaves his head open. Hurtado trying to kick that string of 6 knockouts in a row intact. Barbosa hanging on. And now he falls out of fatigue more than anything. I don't think that was a punch that knocked him down. And he gets up very slowly. Referee.
And Hurtado gets a warning for all of his effort.
Barbosa does not have a mouthpiece. There it is. The referee picks it up. And Barbosa totally exhausted at this point. And Hurtado, you see Barbosa, the body work at the beginning of round 10 really took its toll on Barbosa.
There are some commissions in the United States that would stop the fight at this point, figuring why let him take another 60 seconds worth of pounding. He's totally exhausted. They just put their hands up and say he's offering no offense.
He really is not. He's trying to protect his left rib area with his left hand. Hurtado really tattooed that area earlier in the 10th round.
Certainly one of Hurtado's strengths is his body work. Very impressed with his body work. As unimpressed as I am with the jab, that's how impressed I am with the body work today.
And Barbosa holding on. Will the knockout streak of Reynaldo Hurtado come to an end today in Cartagena, Colombia? Looks like it might, as Julio Barbosa will survive the 10 rounds. Hurtado would raise his record to 21-0-1, while Barbosa appears to be headed to his 4th loss with 23 wins. Hurtado raises his hand. He feels he was victorious, and we feel that way as well. What's your final card say, Artie?
99-91 for Reynaldo Hurtado. Very good workout for him, though. I think he learned a lot in this fight. If nothing else, he learned he's going to have to learn to keep his left up, not get hit by those overhand rights. With a heavier puncher, he might have been put down and out. Barbosa was hitting him with some very flush shots, but Barbosa not much of a puncher in terms of punching power. Also got over a very important hurdle for a young fighter, and that is that he went the 10-round distance for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I think that's the key for Hurtado, to say that he went the 10 rounds and felt strong. He did some pretty good work in the 10th round, still had some power, still had some energy left. Whereas Barbosa had next to nothing left near the end of the fight, and we expect to see Hurtado's arm raised in victory. Here's some shots, some of the body work in the uppercut by Hurtado. And Hurtado really had Barbosa in some trouble, and you'll see here they'll lock some feet. Right there's the feet locking, and Barbosa falls.
And got up very slowly.
Pretty good work by Hurtado. Reynaldo Hurtado, the 27-year-old from Cartagena, Colombia, working his way up the rankings. Title shot probably not too far away for the young man from Colombia.
Señoras y señores,
The official decision,
por favor.
Cartagena, Colombia.
Ganador por decisión unánime, Reynaldo Hurtado. Uno de los jueces 99-92, otro juez 100-91 y otro juez 99-93. Ganador por decisión unánime de Cartagena, Colombia, Reynaldo Hurtado.
Unanimous decision for Reynaldo Hurtado. He remains unbeaten. He is now 21-0-1.
And I was able to pick up two of those real quick. It was 99-93, 99-91.
El título vacante de las 118 libras de la Federación Internacional de Boxeo FIT. La cadena de televisión por cable más importante de los Estados Unidos
You probably missed. You probably missed a couple of weeks of Spanish class. The reason you didn't pick up all the sources at it.
No, we'll blame it on our ring announcer, Freddie Keenan, for talking a little too quickly for me. But I did get the 91 and 99.
All right, folks, hang on to your seat because coming up next is going to be the main event. The IBF Bantamweight Championship of the World. Juvenal Zulu Barrio against Harold Cyclone Mestre. And really, you look at these two fighters, evenly matched. One ranked #1, one ranked #2 by the IBF. We talked about Orlando Canizales vacated that title, and we expect a great fight. 118-pound limit, bantamweight's IBF title is on the line.
You know, Larry, with an interesting situation is he fought Canizales in November of 93. Then he didn't fight for 11 months. Came out, fought Eduardo Negrete, who he had beaten previously in an 8-round decision back in October of 92, and only got a draw with him after the layoff. So obviously very good for him that he took a tune-up fight for the title again, but only getting a draw there.
How about the fact that neither one of these fighters could claim to have been busy over the last 12, 16, 18 months? Barrio fought once in 1994. You talked about that back in September. Whereas Harold Mestre fought once in 1994 back in April, 7-round knockout. And, you know, inactivity can go two ways. You either rejuvenate or you rust.
A lot of interesting factors with these fighters in general. Obviously, Mestre's never been out of Colombia. Barrio's only been out of Colombia twice. Once for the title fight in South Africa. Once he fought in Venezuela back in 1988 against Juan Blanco. Both times he's been out of the country, incidentally, he lost. He lost the 10-round decision to Blanco in Venezuela, and of course he lost the 12-round to Canizales. But because they fight in Colombia so much and they both fight down at 118 pounds, they have a lot of common opponents.
Right.